In this podcast episode, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. discusses the potential dangers of technological advancements and the impact they could have on individual freedoms. He highlights the historical ambition of totalitarian regimes to exert control over every aspect of human behavior, including movements, transactions, speech, and thought. Kennedy emphasizes that while past regimes lacked the technological capacity to achieve total control, the current wave of technology could provide the next totalitarian regime with the means to do so. Kennedy discusses the thread of courage and integrity that runs through the Kennedy family. He reflects on the battles and engagements he has been involved in, viewing them as a privilege and feeling peaceful and happy to be involved. He mentions that he and his siblings were raised with the idea that their lives would be consumed in some great controversy, and it would be a privilege to take a meaningful part in that debate. The Kennedy family's history of courage and sacrifice is also highlighted, with references to John F. Kennedy's and Robert Kennedy's willingness to sacrifice their lives for what they believed in. Kennedy expresses his belief that there are things worse than death, such as losing freedoms and living like slaves, and emphasizes the importance of standing up for truth and freedom. Kennedy discusses the ambition of totalitarian regimes to exert total control over human behavior and the historical warnings from American political leaders about the dangers of becoming an empire. He emphasizes the potential threat posed by the growth of technology, including AI and surveillance capabilities, which could give the next totalitarian regime the capacity to control every aspect of human behavior. The podcast delves into examples of how technology is already being used for surveillance and control, citing China as a case where every move is monitored, facial recognition is used, and information is stored. Kennedy warns about the potential for digitalized currencies to become the ultimate weapon of control, allowing punishment without due process. Kennedy provides examples of how technology has been used to control and manipulate reality, citing the lack of coverage in the press of large demonstrations in Europe and the creation of parallel realities throughout the pandemic. He emphasizes the danger of misinformation and the spread of false narratives, pointing to a globally coordinated effort to spread misinformation and control public perception. The podcast delves into historical events, such as the proposed Operation Northwoods, where the U.S. government considered launching terror attacks and blaming them on Cuba to justify war. Kennedy highlights his uncle's rejection of the proposal and his skepticism toward the military and intelligence apparatus. He discusses the Bay of Pigs invasion and the consequences of trusting the intelligence agencies, emphasizing the need for government accountability and transparency. Kennedy also addresses the issue of agency capture, where regulatory agencies are influenced by the industries they are supposed to regulate. He provides examples of individuals within agencies working for industry interests, such as the head of the EPA pesticide division secretly working for Monsanto. The consequences of agency capture are highlighted, including the lack of safety regulations in industries such as rail transportation. Kennedy highlights the influence of corporations on government agencies, particularly in the context of the transportation industry. He discusses how companies prioritize profits over safety, which can lead to catastrophic consequences. He also emphasizes the concept of corporate crony capitalism and the detrimental impact it has on democracy. Kennedy explores the potential justifications for immoral decisions, using the example of the potential knowledge of the Pearl Harbor attack by the U.S. government. He raises the question of whether certain decisions, such as allowing an attack to draw the country into World War II, could be justified for the greater good. He also discusses the potential hidden agendas behind decisions that may seem to prioritize safety but could be driven by a desire for totalitarian control. Kennedy discusses the suppression of information related to effective treatments for COVID-19, such as vitamin D and natural immunity. He highlights the financial incentives for suppressing approved medications and promoting vaccination, pointing to the profits made by pharmaceutical companies during the pandemic. He also raises questions about the potential coordination of a larger agenda to control the world population and implement surveillance measures. Kennedy shares his personal experience with a potential vaccine injury from the flu vaccine, leading to his increased awareness of vaccine-related issues. He discusses the rise of allergic and autoimmune diseases in children and questions the sudden explosion of these health issues in the late 1980s. He emphasizes the need to critically examine the impact of vaccines on public health and the potential hidden motives behind vaccination campaigns. Kennedy explains that vaccines are not safety tested prior to approval, and the vaccine industry is exempt from liability for any injuries caused by vaccines. He also discusses the use of adjuvants in vaccines to create a robust immune response, which can have unintended consequences, such as triggering autoimmune diseases and allergic reactions. Kennedy emphasizes the need for comprehensive studies to understand the impact of vaccines on public health, but notes that the vaccine safety database is inaccessible to independent scientists, hindering research in this area. Kennedy also addresses the role of other environmental toxins, such as glyphosate, pesticides, cell phone radiation, and ultrasound, in contributing to the rise of chronic diseases. He highlights the need for a holistic approach to understanding the causes of these diseases and the importance of considering environmental factors in addition to vaccines. Kennedy discusses the historical decline in infectious diseases and challenges the notion that vaccines have been solely responsible for this decline. He cites studies that attribute the decline to engineering improvements, such as road construction, electric refrigeration, water treatment, and sewage systems, as well as advancements in nutrition. He emphasizes the need for a more nuanced understanding of the factors contributing to public health improvements and the potential limitations of vaccines in addressing these issues. Kennedy acknowledges the limitations of litigation as a tool for public policy change, but emphasizes the importance of using all available tools, including advocacy, agitation, legislation, and litigation, to address public health concerns. He encourages individuals to contribute to the cause and emphasizes the significance of collective action in advocating for change.